When Monica Watson from Little Rock, Arkansas became a mother again at the ripe old age of 65, a lot of people took notice as nobody expected this to be possible, and there would end up being something strange going on with the baby. It would end up being Monica's 65-year husband Michael, who first took notice of it. It was a discovery that shook the man to his core. Michael had a strange feeling about his baby from the moment Monica gave birth to it. And finally, he was able to put his finger on it. He just suddenly saw it when he was holding the baby boy. He immediately put him in the playpen and went to find Monica. Michael stormed into the room where Monica was sleeping. She shook awake and saw her husband standing at the door opening with tears streaming down his face. Her heart stopped for a second, and then Michael started to explain himself. He had finally seen it. Finally, he knew why he had that strange feeling about the baby. How could Monica have not told him about this? She had to have known. But what did Michael notice about the baby boy? What had Monica been hiding from him? And why did she feel the need to? Becoming a mother at her age was not that easy, so when she found out that the test was positive, she could not believe her own eyes. She was already 59 years old, and she had 2 children at this point, so at first, nobody believed her. Not even her husband or her grown-ups, some because they both thought that it was hard for a woman of her age to get pregnant. Of course, it was not impossible, but was rare for someone like her to get pregnant. Of course, she and Michael still had relations with each other, but they thought that, at their age, pregnancy should not be a concern anymore. But sometimes life doesn't go as we planned, and that was more than okay for them. The first thing that they decided to do was to visit the doctor. After the proper medical examination, he was able to ensure the couple that Monica was pregnant. The doctor was really confused, as the other people at first, but after a while, he was determined that Monica was about to have her 4th child in a few months. The last time that Monica was about to have a child was 22 years ago. This was going to be her 3rd child, so she and Michael knew how to handle the whole situation. She and her husband loved their children so much that they were more than grateful to welcome another member to their family. But there was one serious problem. It was pretty normal for her to get pregnant. Because, as the doctor explained to them, Monica had not fully gone through menopause yet, but Michael has his tubes tied. However, as the doctor explained to them at the time, this was never fault-proof, so there was a little chance for him to get his wife pregnant. There have been many occasions in the past of impregnation by a man with a vasectomy, but the chances were just greatly reduced. So it was either that or the worst-case scenario was that Monica had an affair with another man. But at this point, Michael didn't see it as a possibility, at least, not yet. Of course, now was the time to make the biggest decision of all. Are they going to keep the baby or not? There were many things that they had to consider when making this huge decision. The most restraining factor was Monica's age. They both knew that a new baby there was going to be a huge change for 2 people at their age. As the doctor explained to them that this pregnancy could affect Monica's health and of course the baby's life. But she assured them that with close monitoring, those risks should be able to be kept to a minimum. These were really encouraging words, so they started to consider keeping the baby. They knew that this could be something new, but they wanted it deep inside. There was another serious question that they have to answer. If Monica and Michael ever wanted to or were able to raise another child together. Surely they were both healthy and financially stable together. But did they want to spend the next 18 years as full-time parents? Actually, they were planning to travel the world or try new hobbies. Michael didn't seem as excited as Monica was. Monica herself started to be more excited about it by the day. She had always wanted a grandchild, but had recently come to grips that might be difficult. So, she wanted to grab the chance and raise this baby in the same way as she would if it was her grandchild. Monica knew very well that neither of her 2 daughters had shown any interest in having children with their partners, and her son was attracted to men instead of women. So he will also not bring her a grandchild unless he and his partner would adopt a child in the future. But Monica didn't have the intention to wait for too long. Now was the time to get through the process of pregnancy, and that was of course easier said than done. As the doctor predicted, was struggling through some periods, really feeling the effect of creating another human being. She and her husband were really positive about this whole situation, and Monica was taking good care of herself. The good thing was that 65 years old Michael had retired about a year ago, and now was able to help Monica in every emergency situation. So he was able to be by her side 24/7, even driving her to the hospital on some occasions. Monica was grateful for her husband, but sometimes her behavior was suspicious. There was one time, during these 9 months, when the doctor had gotten extremely worried about Monica's situation and suggested putting a stop to it. But Monica had her mind dead set on having the baby now. So abortion was not considered an option now. Monica was determined to bring this child into the world, one way or another. Finally, after a long 9 months, she managed to get through this. She had many difficult days until she finally went into labor. She was 60 years and 89 days old at this time. She knew that she was old enough to become a mother, but here she was, ready to have her 4th child. This was remarkable for a woman of her age, and her family was proud of her. Compared to the pregnancy itself, the labor process was actually a piece of cake. The whole process only took a very short amount of time, and Monica managed to make it through easily. Finally, she was able to hold her baby in her arms. She was feeling delighted and blessed. The moment of Monica, Michael, and their 3 other children in the hospital room together, holding the new member of the family, was really beautiful. But none of them could have predicted the harsh truths the very near future was going to bring. Maybe Monica kept a secret from all of them, a secret capable of ruining everything. Everybody was happy and optimistic about the future with this baby. Michael could not help but have a strange feeling about the whole thing. But he could not explain it yet. He was feeling that his wife was hiding something from him. It was really hard for him, from the first day, to believe that the baby was his. The biggest problem was that he didn't feel a deep connection with the baby, like the connection he had with his other children. But he did not want to admit this to Monica, because this would make him a bad father. At the same time, Monica has developed a strong connection with the baby, and she spent all of her time with the little girl. For the next couple of months, Michael was faking his way through. Of course, he loved the child very much, and he actually likes being a father again. The only thing that was missing was the connection between him and his young daughter. After some days, he was going to find out the reason why he and this baby had no connection.